Hello and welcome to the Success Showcase. I'm your host, Eric Lopkin from the Modern Observer Group. And with me, as always, is Chip Janiszewski from the Happiness and Success GPS. Chip, how you doing this week?
I'm doing great. How about you, Eric?
Doing fantastic. We have had some bizarre weather all around the country. We've got hurricanes hitting right now in Florida and Georgia. We've had mini monsoons all over the Northeast. It has been absolutely crazy. So I hope all of our listeners are staying safe.
Mhm. Yeah, I think we might have a quiet day or two, but it's been pretty crazy up here. Luckily, in my neck of the woods, I dodged anything serious this weekend, and just a few miles away in Simsbury, a big tree fell on somebody's house. Unfortunately, nobody was hurt, but that's Connecticut in August. What can you say?
That's it. You never know what's going to happen. So this week we've got a special guest. Franne McNeal is with us, and Fran is a business consultant who works on bringing out more value in your business. So, Fran, welcome. Why don't you tell our listeners a little bit about yourself and how you
Sure.
started doing this?
Sure, absolutely. Well, first, let me say thank you. Thank you to both you, Eric and Chip. I am honored to be on the show and very excited to share how I might be able to help some of your listeners. I'm Franne McNeal. I'm president of Significant Business Results, and I chose that name on purpose. I have had other businesses. In fact, I started several businesses, one in college, and sold my first business at age 29 when I was in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. And so I really get jazzed about helping small business owners think about the future as to whether or not they are going to sell their business. And how did I get started on that? Partially because I had an opportunity at age 29 to sell my business. And part of what I found is that it's not just the amount of money that you make, so that revenue, it's not just the profit, but there are several factors that really make your business attractive to a buyer. And I had to learn the hard way. And so as a result, I spent a lot of time between 29 and now, several decades, I think is safe to say, and learning how to help entrepreneurs. So I am what people often call an education and accountability coach. I'm actually a value builder advisor. And I, again, got started because I love helping entrepreneurs after spending a certain amount of time in corporate and found that corporate was a little bit challenging for me. I needed to be out on my own and have that responsibility of building a team, serving clients with integrity, and watching the dollars make sense.
Nice. You're absolutely right. Most business owners, entrepreneurs, when they start out, they don't think about if they're going to be able to retire, if they're going to be able to sell the business. They're getting into it because they enjoy doing that work. And that builds a job, but it doesn't build a business. We talk a lot about starting with the end in mind. And
Stephen Covey.
yes. And
Right.
Yes.
I actually
Absolutely.
I actually had a conversation with a client, this is a number of years ago, where I was explaining to him that he had to put processes in place so that other people could do the job if he's not there. And he didn't understand. He looked at me and he said, "Well, why would I want somebody else to be able to do it? Then they don't need to hire me." And I said point blank, that, "Do you ever want to take a vacation? Do you want to be able to retire? Just doing the job doesn't add value to the business, because if you're selling the business and the business is you're
Well,
either going to become an employee of that business or you're not going to be able to sell it because it's lacking the value."
Eric, you are so right. And Chip, I know that you want to contribute here. I'm just going to scoot in, sort of take guest privileges here and say, Eric, one of the things that I found in working with a proven system that I use called the Value Builder System is that there are 8 key drivers that help add value to a company. And interestingly enough, only 2 of them are directly financially related. The first is really avoiding that owner's trap of the owner being the center of the business, not willing to delegate, and saying, it's all about me. And quite frankly, they have created a low paying, long hour job for themselves that does not allow them to take a vacation. And if they get sick, they're in trouble. And then as they get older or there's other opportunities available to them and they want to sell their business, you're absolutely right. The business is not worth much because a buyer is buying a future stream of income. And if you're the business and you're not in it, who are they going to write the check to? They're going to give you a few pennies, but then they're going to have to set aside all this money for building a business. And most investors would say right off the bat, that's not an investment. That's problems. So they won't even offer you money. Chip?
Yeah, I love your approach. I mean, obviously, when I get on these shows, I like to go to the person's website to learn more about your background. And, I read about you, I read about your approach, and I've done a lot of consulting work over my career also. I used to do a lot of work for Central Connecticut State University, working with a whole bunch of businesses doing business planning and strategic planning. And as you well know, there are a whole lot of owners out there who have just bought themselves the opportunity to pay themselves instead of getting paid by somebody else. And when you're dealing with, succession planning and everything else that has to do with the business, not many people do it. And what I love about your website, and for all of you people who are thinking of going into business or just want to know how business runs, everything is in there as far as your assessment, for your value builder system, because nobody is the jack of all trades. Everybody has their specialties. And what you do with a series of videos on those 8 value
Those are fun.
key drivers that you talked about is you have a really quick video that kind of explains all these things. And I guarantee that no matter how long you've been in business, if you go through those very, very quickly, you're going to have a few aha moments. So whether you're looking to sell now or later and so on and so forth, it's a really, really good thing just for your own business and for your own employees and so on and so forth to go through this, because this is a really, really good roadmap as to what you should be striving for really in all aspects of your business. So congrats for putting this thing together, because it's really
Thank you, Chip. Well, I love it. You're going to be an unofficial ambassador for me. I do want to give credit where credit is due. This whole value builder system is based on John Warrillow's book, Built to Sell. And so when he went to sell his business, had some points of pain. He experienced what we now often talk about is that owner shock, frustration, and awe of, what do you mean no one's going to buy my business or they're going to give me pennies on the dollar? I've spent all this time. And part of what he did after lots of research and working with different business coaches is he identified these 8 key drivers. And being a very analytical person, I loved the framework that he put together. And so one of the things I don't think I've shared with you or your listeners is that for the last 11 years, I've worked with 886 small business owners. And that's because through the Community College of Philadelphia, they were awarded a Goldman Sachs Foundation grant. And so as a business advisor, as a lead faculty, as the executive director, I had the chance to work one-on-one with these business owners in the tri-state area, and that would be Pennsylvania, New Jersey, and Delaware. And they had a very structured 14-week program, and they created a growth plan. And what I found in watching, regardless of the industry, regardless of whether their revenue was $1 million or $10 million, we had someone with a business that was bringing in $12 million, that many of the business owners hadn't thought about what is their exit plan. They hadn't really thought about how to create systems and processes so that the business could run without them. And one of the things we did is we ran the program from 8 a.m. to 5:30 once a week on purpose. And many people never applied for that very reason. But we did that so that week after week, people were forced to step out of their business and figure out how their business was going to run without them. And usually by about week 3, we would ask people, and the first 2 days were back to back. So it was like Thursday, Friday, 12, 20 hours outside their business. And we would often say amongst the team, wonder what percentage of people would come back. People did come back because we fed them breakfast and lunch, but people would come back and they would say, wow, I thought I was prepared. Or they would say, you know what? So-and-so stepped up. People ask me on Monday, what is it that I do? Where are the notes? And I realized that I had a lot of things in my head, but they weren't written down. So people, as a result, I saw how experienced, talented business owners knew their business, but didn't necessarily run their business as a business. And they really weren't business owners. They were employees of their business. And so as I watched that sort of over the 11 years, I found that one of the missing pieces, again, was this not only planning for growth and planning for scale, but planning for exit. And these 8 frameworks are excellent if you're in the growth and scale stage. And to your point, Chip, there are many aha moments that people can have. And that's part of what I enjoy, I guess, as the oldest of 4 girls, sharing things with people and having them go, oh, you know what? I actually knew that, but I may not be doing it. And I'm like, if you really want to do it, I can help you. I can help hold you accountable. So it's a lot of fun. It's just amazing to see how business owners, again, can invest in themselves, invest in their business, and actually do more by doing less and do more by being more strategic. So
Absolutely. It's important for business owners to remember, they may know their business backwards and forwards, but they have to share that knowledge, because if they're doing everything, then they're trapped there. And, we've been talking about this in terms of selling the business, when you're ready to leave, but it affects you so much more earlier than that, because it starts impinging on your work-life integration. It keeps you in the office longer than you might want to. If you really want a well-rounded life, you need to be able to create a business that runs as a system and that you can step out of and your employees can step in.
absolutely. And it's so exciting to see employees step up and step into opportunities. And then many of the business owners that I work with say, there's aspects of this business that I like, but I actually like to do other things or work on other businesses or spend time with my grandchildren or take walks.
Right.
I know one business owner that he goes hiking with his wife, like 3 days a week. And he's essentially sold the business to his son. He does do a little bit of consulting, but he says to his son, you have me for 6 hours a week. That's it. I will babysit the grandchildren for more than that, but you have me for 6 hours a week.
Yeah, it really is about, deciding what it is you want to do with your life, not just your business. And it really is so important, because also what a lot of business owners don't realize is that by keeping it all to themselves, by not systemizing, they're limiting the growth of their company, because there's only so many hours a day that they can be working. But if you can have 4 or 5 people doing that same thing, reaching out for more sales, producing more products, whatever it is that they need to be doing, you can grow more, you can make more, you can increase engagement in your employees. Which would you rather work in? An organization that you're a cog and you do the same thing over and over again because that's what you're told? Or a business that you're actually part of the business and that you have a stake in?
And that really Eric speaks to what you do with the Modern Observer Group. So I hear that passion, understanding your business, right? Right. And we haven't talked about the impact on the community, but as business owners, you have an opportunity to be a leader in an expanded way. And Eric, to your point, as your employees are more involved in a meaningful way, they also have a chance, and you as business owner have a chance to make an impact in people's lives, not only your customers' lives. Ideally, you're more savvy in terms of negotiating with your vendors. It creates more value in your business. It's easier to get loans. You have different kinds of conversations with systems and processes with your accountant because you understand the financials and how transactions can make a difference. You're probably not taking all the money out of your business. You're not trying to set up your business so you're paying the least amount of taxes. Instead, you're showing in the financial documents that your business has value. So you're being strategic, and it really gives you an opportunity, again, to have an impact on your community. You hire more people. Maybe you contribute in a different way to some organizations. So you again, as a business owner, you have an opportunity to really make a difference. So on a personal and professional level.
Yeah, Eric and I have talked a whole lot about finding your why and finding your why both personally and professionally. And if you are a business owner, whatever you do professionally as far as your business goes, has to be a part of what you want to be for your legacy and so on and so forth. And just understand that whatever you're doing with that is going to facilitate everything else that you want to do in your life. So you have to have a well-rounded personal strategic plan for every aspect. And the top driver is not how much money you make. But speaking of drivers in there, there's two of your 8 drivers in there, number 4 and number 5, that I think a lot of businesses should hear about. Number 4 is the valuation teeter-totter. You talked about selling businesses, that whoever buys a business not only writes a check to buy the business, but they got to write a check if they're short on working capital too. And with that, you throw in the hierarchy of recurring revenue, which just goes from lowest up the scale as far as what you should strive for. So can you outline that a little bit for the benefit of everybody?
Sure. Yes. Okay. So I'm going to start with recurring revenue. That is a critical driver. So again, there are 2 of the drivers that focus on financials. And while it's certainly important to have great financials, and when you sell your business, have audited financials, so someone outside your business is saying this is right and you can count on these numbers. One of the things a lot of business owners miss is the opportunity to systematically create contracts that reflect recurring revenue. So when a buyer looks at your business, they should be able to see that we've got X number of contracts at this dollar amount that will happen regardless, because it's a legal document. And it, might be every single month, or it's every year, and it's recurring for 3 years or 5 years. So that recurring revenue is critical. And there's different ways of doing that. Even service businesses can have a subscription model. Many of us get Amazon packages, probably more per day than we want to admit. Our neighbors may keep track of that. I tease one of my neighbors, "Oh, I saw the Amazon truck again." And they're like, "Fran," and when they stopped off at me, they were going over to you. But Amazon now, I have a new kitten. And when I went to buy kitty litter, there was a price for buying it once, but then there was also a price much lower for subscribe and save. Kitty litter, who knew? But when I think about it, that is something that I'm going to have to buy for the life of the kitten and then a cat. And so Amazon has made it easy for me to commit. And therefore, they know that as a subscriber, they've got recurring revenue. So thinking about the subscription model and literally the number of contracts that you currently have, and we're in August right now. What are the number of contracts that your business could and should have by November 2nd of this year? So every quarter, by January 2nd of next year, and just planning that is really critical. So that was driver number 5.
Fantastic. Now, we've talked a lot about the nuts and bolts and the benefits of the system, but we've sort of been skating around those 8 factors. So can you tell our listeners a little bit about what the 8 factors are?
Sure, sure. I'm going to go through the 8, and I think the best way for me to do that is I'm going to call them out one by one and then just give you a brief description. So there are
Right.
8 key drivers. The first one is financial performance. So you've got to know your numbers. So you need to understand each of the 3 financial statements. You've got to work consistently with your accountant so that you're understanding and using those financial documents to help you make better decisions. And you want to make sure that as you work with your accountant, the way that you're running your business is designed to build value. So that's the first one, financial performance. The second one is growth potential. Again, if you are the business and it is a lifestyle business, it's covering you and maybe a few employees. What you need to think about is from the buyer's perspective, if you're out and you don't have any indications that the employees are necessarily going to stay, what can a buyer see that shows that your business will have growth outside of you being in the business? So what are specific systems and processes, contracts, markets that you have that will, when the buyer writes that check, they're knowing that they're buying an ongoing concern. The third is, and this is John's term, the Switzerland structure. So making sure that your business is not dependent on one key employee, one key client, or one key vendor, and or a combination of all of those. So again, having your business run and in an effective way so that it's well balanced. Clients, vendors, employees. So those are sort of the legs of the business that then, along with the product and service, allow you to serve your best clients. The fourth one is the valuation teeter-totter, and that's what they call it in Britain. In America, we call it the seesaw. But just being, and Chris brought this up, just being aware that you've really got to manage your cash flow and understand that when the buyer goes to write a check, they write one to you, and they basically set aside money to make sure that there is enough for working capital. So if you can't demonstrate how you're using working capital and how much working capital is necessary and how working capital connects with covering the expenses and the profitability, you've got some work to do. The fifth is recurring revenue. There's actually 6 forms. I talked about 2. The subscription model, and also having reoccurring contracts. The 6 is a little bit of a misnomer, but it's important to think about. And it's this concept of having a monopoly. And you may say, well, I'm a graphics design business, or, I sell a specialty frozen vegan smoothie. So like, how can I have monopoly? But it's the idea of really paying attention to who are your ideal clients, why do they choose you, and setting yourself up based on your understanding of your ideal clients and your financials so that you're the only choice in your client's mind. So it does connect with marketing. The seventh is customer satisfaction. So many businesses don't know their net promoter score, and there's a process to basically discover what do customers say about you. And that's going to be important when a buyer looks at your business because they want to know that not only do the financials say it's valuable, but do the customers, the outside world, say over and over that they'll do repeat business with you and they'll refer business. And then the eighth one is the hub and spoke myth. So again, we mentioned this earlier, a lot of owners take pride in the fact that the business is me. No decisions are made without me. Everything goes through me. I'm the expert when, if you're a consulting business, oh, people have to talk to me. I'm the prime one. Well, as Eric mentioned, then what that means is you are the business. You probably don't get a vacation. You probably have a very low paying, high hour job. And that's not attractive to outside folks. So these 8 key drivers, and I put them on my website, which by the way is www.significantbusinessresults. I put them on the website and I have little 3-minute videos because I am very comfortable wanting people to know things that they need to pay attention to. And as a result, many people go ahead and take the value builder assessment so that they can see where their business falls on these 8 key drivers. So I'll stop, Eric and Chris. I said a lot, but I did want to, as you requested, go over the 8 key drivers.
And I'm glad you did. But we are actually coming up on the end of our time.
Right.
So before we go, if our listeners want to get a hold of you, use your services, how can they do so?
Sure. Well, I would welcome that opportunity. You can connect with me on LinkedIn, and my LinkedIn handle is Franne, Franne McNeal. You can also go to my website, Significant Business Results, all smushed together because I am really committed that when you work with me and my associates, that you get business results that are significant. And I have the same handle on Facebook and LinkedIn. So that would be the best way. Significant Business Results. And I am your trusted value builder advisor. And I'm dedicated to helping you grow, scale, and prepare to sell your business. I do want to note, Chris and Eric, that I am not a business broker. I am not an M&A attorney. I am not a CPA. And those are some of the strategic partners that I have. So once you're prepared to sell, there are folks that I can guide you to that will help you now that you know the value of your business and they know the value of your business, get the top dollar.
Fantastic. It's been great having you here today. Chip, what do you think is the big takeaway for our listeners?
Well, first of all, I would go to her website and check out all the videos there. I mean, when I did my consulting work, obviously business itself, I helped them put together an organizational chart, which is what they do without putting names on it. This is basically dividing things up into business development, operations, HR, and financing, just putting down the different tasks that have to be done. And then you can fill in who's going to be doing those things. And then the operations manual is the how-tos, which is just a series of checklists for all these different things. So just by talking about that, you can realize that businesses can get a little bit complicated, but you can organize them too. And I think by taking your value-added assessment, it's going to help out a whole lot. And most importantly, for your business owners out there, obviously, it's good to think about the value of your business, whether you're going to sell it or not, and put those things together. And this is a great, great way to do that. What is your why as a person, as a business owner, as an employer, all those things? It's really important to just take some me time, put it down on paper, and really get yourself organized for that. So great having you today.
Yes, that is very important. I think for me, the big takeaway is the fact that you really do need to create a system for your business. Step away from it and let it grow with and without you. This way, you have a better work-life integration. You can sell it when you're ready. But the planning for that has to start way in advance of your decision to sell. You have to have the pieces in place early.
Absolutely.
You've been listening to the Success Showcase. You can catch every episode at xvadio.com, the Apple Podcasts app, Google Podcasts, Spotify, iHeartRadio, Audible, Amazon Music, and wherever you find podcasts. Remember, make this your best week ever and make next week even better. We'll see you then.